Hi, everybody. Welcome. I think we might wait just a couple minutes and then we'll get started, but we're all really excited to be in this space with you today. I see some familiar names, so that's exciting. All right, let's see. Hi, Stephanie. All right. Hi, Sonia. Nice to see you or see your name.
Yay!
Oh, yay. I didn't realize that you were all able to talk and unmute yourself, so that makes me happy.
I have to unmute everyone individually.
Oh,
So if I miss
got it.
anyone, just
Okay.
put it in the chat, but I'm trying to keep track as they join.
Okay, no
I don't know why
worries.
it's set up that way, but
No worries. And so the session does start at 1, right? I was a little confused if it was 1 or 1:15, but if it's 1, then I'll go ahead and get moving forward.
I believe it's 1, but if you
Okay.
need to wait a few more minutes, that I don't see that would be a problem.
Okay, no worries. So we'll go ahead and get started. Let me double check that all of my settings are actually, let me try something really quick and make sure that I have everything all set. All right. So, thank you all again for having us today. We will go ahead and get moving forward. So, we are here to present on the Community Resiliency Model. Today, we will have myself. My name is Taylor Dominguez. I am the Community Training and Education Manager here within the Center for Resilient Communities. And I have my wonderful colleague, Nury Stemple here as well. She's a community health worker and research specialist here within the Center for Resilient Communities. And then unfortunately, we were unable to have Dr. Mary Ellen Brown with us today, but she is the principal investigator and the visionary behind the work that we do and why that we're able to be here today presenting to you all on this topic. So we wanted to definitely make a mention of her as well. So a little bit about our center. So, like I mentioned, we are with the Center for Resilient Communities, and our center is an initiative within the National Child and Traumatic Stress Network, which is also called NCTSN. And our main focus is on training community health workers and other health professionals on topics and interventions related to toxic and traumatic stress for children, youth, and families. So currently, this Center for Resilient Communities is located within the Office of Community Health Engagement and Resiliency at Arizona State University. So I'm going to pass this over to Nury for a couple questions for you all.
Everyone, my name is Nury Stemple. I am the community health worker. I've been working here at the Arizona State University almost 2 years. So I provide expertise and also support to my colleagues in different areas of the studies. And we want to talk about today about CRM. So we all have a nervous system, learning to regulate the nervous system through CRM wellness skill can be life-changing as people learn to bring their own system back into balance and then share a skill with the families and communities. So CRM skill can become a common language. We use CRM has been used across the culture, religion, and ethnicities when we help children and adults to learn how to tell the difference between sensation of distress and well-being. Resiliency can expand and learning simple wellness skill. The result is feeling great, balance in mind and body and spirit. This is true and all over the world where they teach these tools. The community resilient model also from can be shared with individuals who have low literacy rates or children who have not yet learned how to read or write. Learning to read the nervous system is a human skill regardless of literacy level. So the community resilient model can be used across any lifespan. And one of the questions that I have, and you can put it in the chat, what or who lifts you? Who is the person or who lifts you up? Also, what or who gives you a strength? And what or who helped you to get through the hard times? So think about these questions. Sometimes we are busy just under a lot of stress and anxiety that we don't think about who I can rely on. What is who lift me up? Thinking about this person, animal, spirituality, whatever. So you can put it in the chat, and so if you can answer those quick questions, we're gonna take a minute to put it in the chat.
Yeah, so we see God for all three. God lifts Lakeisha up, gives you strength and gets you through hard times.
There's another one.
Family, yeah, family, friend, significant other for all three. Husband and daughter, my sister, husband, and it could be in different circumstances. So during work, it might be a little bit different. The company chaplain, partner Jack. God gives, yep. So we see a lot of commonalities here. Family and friends. Thank you all so much for sharing.
Daughter. So just keep those in mind because we're gonna talk about this later. Cherry, I think there is a confusion about what time we should be starting the webinar, but we already start.
Maybe we can give people a couple more minutes as they start trickling in, since there was, it looks like some people might still be on break. Would that be okay with everybody, just so we don't get too into the content and miss out? All right. Thank you all. Sorry for the confusion. I see some thumbs up. Maybe while we wait, I can talk a little bit about, maybe Nury and I can answer this question for ourselves so that you can get to know us a little bit as well. So, what or who uplifts me? I definitely resonate a lot with what you all have said. So my family, my friends, being in nature, being able to, just like go outside and take a deep breath and feel grounded. And we are both in Tucson, Arizona, so it's really hot here right now. I don't think we've had a day under 100 degrees in like, I don't even know how long. So that's not really something we can do so much right now. But we're looking forward to the end of October where that's easier. So yeah, what about you, Nury?
What lifts me up is my faith in God and my children. You know, I have two teenagers that keep me very busy, and two dogs. They are very demanding, so they keep me busy all the time. And work, friends, family, social network that I belong to also. So that is something that we need to rely on when we have a hard times and thinking about different strategies to to have to use resiliency in different ways. So
Definitely.
so
Right.
let me know
I
when
think I do see people trickling in. So Let's see. We can probably just start moving forward. So for those of you who've just joined us, we had a little confusion on if it started at 1 or started at 1:15. So we went through a couple slides. Maybe we'll just do like a quick crash course so that you all know who's presenting to you today, and we can just go through that really, really quick. Oop, wrong way. Oh, there we go. So my name is Taylor Dominguez, and I'm here today with Nury Stemple, who's a community health worker here at our organization, and Dr. Mary Ellen Brown. She is the principal investigator and PI of the grant that we have, and she's really been the visionary and why that we're here today, able to present on the community resiliency model with you all. So. Our center is really focused on training community health workers and other health professionals on interventions that address trauma and toxic stress for children, youth, and families. And we are currently located within the Office of Community Health Engagement and Resiliency at Arizona State University. And what we just did with those that came on a little bit earlier is we just asked the question of what or who uplifts you, what or who gives you strength, and what or who helps get you through hard times. So we just invite you all to write in the chat if you feel comfortable as we start to get through this content. Keeping these people, these things in mind as we learn about these skills and talk about some topics that can be a little bit hard sometimes. So let's see, yeah, we can give everyone a couple more minutes.
So this
Let's
is the
see.
agenda. This is the agenda, and we're gonna talk about the community resilience model overview, the resilience zone, why a biological model, and we're gonna teach 4 of the skills: what is tracking, what is resourcing, what is grounding, help now skills, and also the most important is self-care as a professionals in this field. So this is what we are hoping to finish up the presentation. The objective is to discuss and highlight the importance of CRM and helping to create safer dialogue and increasingly polarized climate values. With the community resilient model, this is a service, and we have a core of values. We talk about service, we talk about social justice, we talk about dignity, respect, the respect and the work of every person, family, and community. We believe when we practice resiliency skills, we can invite in well-being and compassion to help provide resiliency and trauma-informed skills. So that is about, resilience and then trauma-informed. So as a community health worker, CHRs, promotoras, you come from many different cultures and backgrounds, and we have different experiences with the communities, but you also work with people from different cultures and walks of life. So we bring this model to you today to add some easy and accessible skills to your toolbox, not only to help those in your community, but also to help yourself. In order to take care of others, and I'm gonna make a pass here. When you travel in the airplane, and they are telling you something happened, you put the mask first. And then you put it on the children or on the other person the need. So this is a good example. You have to take care of yourself to be able to take care of others. So you have to take care of yourself physically and mentally to prevent a burnout. We really want to emphasize the importance of this and encourage you to consider how you can use these wellness skills in your own life to take care of you. Next slide, please. So you can use this model across the lifespan, across the culture with different literacy abilities. So we're gonna go go ahead. So from definition of resiliency includes cultivating and embodying well-being, embracing our individuals and collective assets and strength, being solution focused about life, challenge, being compassionate, being optimistic, and acknowledge individual and collective suffering with kindness. There is many definitions in the word resiliency. As we start this training, it is helpful to brainstorm what about the word resiliency means to you. So think about this for a moment and think about what is resiliency means to you.
And if anyone feels comfortable or would like to share what their definition of resiliency does mean to them in the chat, feel free to do that too. We like to kind of get a sense, like Nury said, there's so many different definitions in the way that we interpret the word. So if anyone feels comfortable writing that in the chat too, we can go through that as well.
So
being able to withstand.
yeah. So the CRM definition of resiliency includes cultivating our well-being, embracing our individual and collective assets and strength, being solution-focused about life, challenge, and being compassionate. So different people have different, some people say perseverance, being able to stand up during the hard time. Just this is a good one. So each individual adaptability is another one that I see in the chat. So thank you for sharing that. Is like everybody have a different resilience definition, getting up from adversity and life is tough. So we need to have a little bit of resilience, otherwise we don't gonna overcome any challenges. So the community I'm sorry, I'm reading there. The community resilient model focus on resiliency. Our conventional thinking when we see a behavior that is trouble is next slide, please, Taylor. We want to talk about the perspective shift. We sometimes we ask what is wrong with that person. So we have three colors here. The first one is telling us about the conventional. We have assumptions that when people are acting or behaving in different way, we see like people are bad, people need to be punished. What is wrong with you? That is the conventional assumption. The trauma informed the awareness is that we know the people are suffering. We know that people need to learn how trauma impacts a child and adult development, because a trauma can impact through the whole life. And we also often say, what is happening to you, So the resilience informs the action that we know is people are resilient. People need to learn how to have skills of well-being can be cultivated and how they can reduce suffering. What is right about you? What are your strengths? Asking them, what lifts you up? This is pretty much the definition of perspective shift. And in this slide, we're going to talk about the resilience zone. I don't know if you hear about it's okay to not be okay. So I use that example because there was a campaign many years ago that was saying it's okay to say I am okay. So this is true. With the world changing very rapidly, we see more and more mental health needs in our communities and little resources and access to these lifesaver mental health resources. So I'm going to talk about the resilience zone. This is a state of well-being in your mind, body, and spirit. And this is when you are in the resilience zone, you are able to handle the stressors. You can be annoying or angry, but you feel like you can still manage the ups and downs in your life. And this is how the the pictures show us. So being able to recognize when you are in your resilience zone and when you are bumped out is one of the major concepts of calm. Recognizing your ups and downs and how you can take care of those using your the skills. Next slide, please, Taylor. So notice here in this slide, the resilience zone is like a wave, and there can be times of the day that you have more stress, and the other days when you are more calmer. There is an ebb or and flows. This graphic also is important to know that the resilience zone is not a happy zone. You can be happy when you are in your resilience zone, but you can also be sad. You know, you cannot be always be in the straight line. You always have ups and downs. And the importance of recognizing is very lifesaver for you because you know how to handle the stress and everybody have um, resilient levels too. Next, please. Here is an image of our resilience zone. Life experience or even reminders of traumatic experiences can happen and they can result in someone getting bumped out of their zone. When they are bumped into the high zone or low zone, they maybe feel e.g. irritable, maniac, anxiety, panic, angry, or in pain. So when they are bumped into the low zone, this may result in feeling the disconnection, exhaustion, numbness, and depression. So it is a human nature to go into the high and low zone, and this is not something that we should feel ashamed or bad about it. However, it can be problematic for us if we stuck in any of the level or the lower zone for a long period of time. Next, please. So the depth of our resilience zone can change depending of our life experiences, trauma. Some people are born with wired resilience zone and others naturally have a narrow zone. So the good news is that we can expand our resilience zone as we learn wellness skills and integrate them into our lives. So I will pass to Taylor, that she's gonna talk about the biological model.
Yeah, so CREM is based on a biological model, and it really uses what we know about the human experience of stress, especially toxic and traumatic stress, on how to address it. So we're going to briefly walk through what that human experience of stress is, to then bring us to the explanation of how CREM can help us monitor stress, respond, and even adapt, and how we can adapt to stress as well. So this slide here shows the spectrum of positive, tolerable, and toxic stress. So positive stress is when a stress response can be helpful for us. So that would be an example like meeting somebody new. So this situation, it can be brief, and it can also help with our alertness. And one way that you know that you are experiencing positive stress is that it's easy to return back to that natural state, your natural balance. There's also tolerable stress. So this might be a response to a mild or moderate stressor. So that would be like giving a speech, or maybe you're presenting at Nashua and you get a little bit stressed before your presentation. So that might be what you would consider tolerable stress. So it's time limited and we can experience some physiological changes. So we would be experiencing maybe an increase in heart rate. You might feel that your palms are sweaty, your eyes might be dilated. So those are some of those physiological changes that we can experience. And we can tell when a stress is positive or tolerable when it's really not hard for us to return back to our natural state or back to what we would call homeostasis, if we're using some type of intervention to help us. So that could be like taking a deep breath, closing our eyes, maybe doing meditation, something like that, that helps us bring ourselves back to our resilient zone, to our where we feel most balanced. And then we get to toxic stress. So regular stress can become toxic in a variety of different conditions, and some of them it might be when you're experiencing regular stress for too long and too much and too fast. So you get maybe you will get bad news, and you might inherit somebody's workload because they quit. So now you have double the amount people that you're working with on a daily basis. You might also experience too little for too long. So maybe you're not getting enough support at work, and that causes stress in the long run. And then you might also experience too much for too long. So that would be working for an extended period of time, maybe with community members who are in a state of crisis, experiencing barriers to getting them access to services. And then just also working with somebody that's very critical of us. So we might be having conversations that are hard, and we're experiencing that day after day after day. So in those types of situations, it can cause toxic stress within the workplace, or even in other situations too, at home as well. So one of the things here is just to remember that the perception is key. So what might be stressful to one of us might not be stressful to another person. So if we think about going to a party, or maybe happy hour, or with like people that we may not be as familiar with, it might be really positive for one person, but it might cause some different feelings or more toxic stress for another. So it really can vary from person to person, from time to time, and it can really depend on what's going on in your life at that moment. So I'm thinking that most of you have probably heard of the adverse childhood experience study, or just adverse childhood experiences in general. And so this term ACEs, it comes from the largest study ever done that examines the health and social effects of adverse childhood experiences over a lifespan. So the original study examined over 17,000 people, and it examined three types of ACEs. So we have household adverse experiences, which could include challenges with family or other close interpersonal relationships, such as like if you have a parent that may be experiencing mental illness. There's also community. So that's when a child is living in an area that might be vulnerable to systemic issues. So that could be concentrated violence, poverty. And then there's also environment. So the things that are happening to the larger society the child is part of. This can include natural disasters, degrading environments, and something that we all just recently lived through. It feels like a long time ago, but it wasn't, was COVID, and really how that has impacted the children in our lives, the adults in our lives, and how that could really affect us all in the long term. So what this study found was that when there are unaddressed toxic stress and trauma, it can really increase the risk of lifelong health problems throughout one's life. So one very it's a pretty crazy statistic is that those with 4 or more ACEs have a 460% higher rate of depression later in life. So that's just one stat highlighting a trend that this study had found. It's not prescribing outcomes, but what's important and what we want to take from this is that this study really shows that unaddressed toxic stress, so in this case, childhood, can cause the high allostatic loads and can cause those long-term health problems. So we want to really highlight the value of understanding that mind-body connection and learn skills to help us regulate our nervous system. And we really can't address the source of stress until we feel regulated and in our natural state. So this study found, a lot of things out about our society and the way that we experience stress, not only mentally or emotionally, but physically as well. And so because of that, there have been a lot of other research that has been done that has also included other types of trauma, such as racism, sexism, bullying, witnessing violence outside of the home, living in unsafe neighborhoods. So that was, we continue to expand and we continue to learn more and more about what adverse childhood experiences can do. And it's also important to note that there are also positive childhood experiences, and they also do have a very significant impact and influence on health. And what is really important about this is that it can even buffer the consequences of adverse child experiences. So there was another study done by Bethel and her colleagues, and they examined 7 different positive childhood experiences that actually can just help buffer that impact that of an adverse experience. So those were the child would be able to talk to their family. They felt that they can talk to their family about their feelings. They felt their family stood up to them during difficult times. They enjoyed participating in community traditions. They felt a sense of belonging in high school. They felt supported by friends. They had at least 2 non-parent adults who took a genuine interest in them. And they felt safe and protected by an adult in their home. So just understanding what these are for ourselves and for our families and even for the people that we work with, it helps us to be able to really identify assets and strengths that we can call upon when we're experiencing or addressing challenges that cause us stress. So now that we talked a little bit about the adverse childhood experiences, positive childhood experiences, it's also important for us to understand some common reactions to stress. So stress can cause a variety of different reactions, and they could impact us emotionally, physically, spiritually, behaviorally. It can affect our thinking. It can affect our relationships. So this is a full body experience when our bodies are under a constant state of stress. And you can see from this slide here, we list all of these because these reactions are really built within us. And this model, the CRM model being biologically based, really makes the case that it's important for us to view these reactions as part of our biology and not something that we should feel shame about or weakness or fault. And, as we talk about it today, it's very likely that all of us in the room, we're experiencing these same types of things. It's not an experience that is just individual to one person. So, you may feel, let's see, for me, I guess, if I'm experiencing stress, I'm starting to, maybe I will get that rapid heart rate. I always get an upset stomach. Whenever I'm set to present or something like that, I can't really eat beforehand. And because my body is just working through the change in of hormones. And as soon as I finish, I'm gonna go eat lunch. So that's how it is. That might be something that others of you experience and maybe you don't. So these are all very common reactions and is not unique to any one of us. But with that being said, while we do have the more negative reactions, I would say, we also have the capacity to experience more favorable reactions to stress. So that would be those post-traumatic resiliency, those common reactions. So whenever we are able to recover and adapt, we can experience resiliency reactions as well. And that would be one of these. So like developing an increased sense of gratitude, forgiveness, compassion. As we continue to recover and adapt, we need to just monitor and respond to stress. And that might be just identifying where we're at in our resilience zone. So when we have a way to do that, and as we continue to talk more about the skills and the model that we're sharing with you today, it can just really help us provide a blueprint for helping develop these types of resiliency reactions. And this kind of self-care will help us monitor and respond and recover and adapt to our prime and natural resiliency. And just going back to that, really just this model is biologically based. And again, those reactions are a natural part of us as human beings. And that's for better or for worse. Experiencing and reacting to stress is really part of our human experience. So instead of viewing those common reactions that we talked about a couple slides ago with any mental weakness or we want to really make sure that we're viewing them without judgment. So with CREM, we'll focus a lot on what's going on in the body and all of the skills that provide a way to help enhance a sense of security and well-being, help us regulate our nervous system. And similar to some meditations that we might experience when we're observing our thoughts, we're really observing that mind-body connection in CREM. And I really like this concept, but some of the thoughts that we might find while we observe that mind-body connection, we can see or we can think of the sensations of resilience and stress as in the body as natural changes of the season. So, you might experience, things might change from fall to spring. Sometimes things are going great. Monitoring and responding to stress could be really easy and seamless, and resiliency reactions seem very easy to do. And sometimes they are not. So we all have our own rhythms and cycles. And when we understand these rhythms and cycles and identify where we're at in the moment, our body can then respond better and we can adapt to these situations. And many kind of changes to our patterns of monitoring and responding to stress can be challenging. So we are creatures of habit, but we do have the capacity to continue to learn throughout the entirety of your lives. That's why we're here today at this conference. We want to learn, and as long as our brain is running and our neurons are firing, then we just continue to maintain that capacity. So scientists use the term neuroplasticity, which is the lifelong capacity of the brain to change and rewire itself in response to the stimulation of learning and experience. So this happens through the process of neurogenesis, which is the ability to create new neurons and connections between neurons throughout our lifetime. So this is important to us because it's just a way of confirming through neuroscience that we can continue to enhance our own resiliency, we can continue to learn, and we can continue to overcome and adapt to life's challenges. And one popular saying in brain science is brain cells that fire together wire together, and it kind of gets at that same point as when you might say practice makes perfect, or if you don't use it you lose it. So those might have been different phrases that you might have heard before, but really just the point of this is that when brain cells are being activated together, they're creating that pathway to continue to communicate. So that comes to the process of tuning and pruning. So the more that we have those brain cells communicating with each other, the stronger and quicker that pathway will be. So in a broader sense, and relating it back to what we're talking about here, and that's our ability to monitor and respond to stress. So as an example, if we notice our heart rate goes up, and our typical response to that is that we feel afraid or we shut down, then those neural pathways between your recognition of your heart rate and your feeling of fear is going to be the highway. That's the path that we're working on. So if we want to instead change our response to be that of self-compassion, we want to acknowledge that I'm getting nervous, my heart rate is going up, and this is a normal human reaction to stress. So then we're going to practice a skill, get us back into that resilient zone or to our baseline. So we might do something like deep breathing, or practicing one of the skills that we'll learn shortly as well. So while we're creating these pathways, it's called tuning, and it might be difficult at first. I know it is for me. It's a constant practice that I have to be very intentional about, but maybe this new path that didn't exist before could over time get easier and easier. So that will then create a highway that starts to get stronger and stronger. And after a while, that old way of thinking where we're judging ourselves for feeling stress, feeling a certain way, it becomes non-existent. Over time, it gets weaker and weaker. And that's what we would then call pruning. So we also have the concept of mirror neurons, and this theory of mirror neurons helps explain how we are biologically susceptible to experiencing secondary traumatic stress, especially for those of you in helping professions, which is everybody here. And so mirror neurons, they help us learn how to respond to situations based on how we see others respond. So it can help us pick up the mood of others. So when we see people around us that are really excited, or maybe they feel sad, we begin to then feel it. Is that something that other people have ever experienced before? I know that I have. So one example in this graphic down here is like, if we see someone yawn, then we have a hard time resisting the urge to yawn ourselves. So this way of automatically understanding and mimicking others is what allows us to really feel empathy, and which is so important to our jobs, and especially you all in the field of community health work. So this empathy is often a personal strength of people who go into these helping professions, but it can also really put us in situations where we begin to experience that secondary traumatic stress that can lead to burnout. Because like we talked about before, it could be too much for too long. And I see it resonated with a number of you, so. So we're going to transition into the first skill, which is called tracking. And what tracking is really just reading sensations in our bodies. And due to the time limitations we have today, we'll talk about the 3 basic skills, which is tracking, resourcing, and grounding. And then we'll also go through the help now skill. But this first skill, which is tracking, is here in the middle of this graphic because it's the foundational skill. And you use tracking while you use all of the other skills. So they oftentimes say, like, if you're not tracking, then you're not cremming. So this is something that we'll continue to go back to a lot. So tracking is the foundation for helping stabilize the nervous system. It's noticing or paying attention to sensations or to what is happening inside our body in the present moment. And the thing I'm going to just emphasize here and like circle, circle, circle is the term present. So when we're tracking our body's sensations, some of the questions that you can ask yourself, or even if you're helping others track their sensations, is what do you notice on the inside? And are these sensations pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? So what our goal in CREM is to really sit and stay with those sensations that are pleasant or neutral. And again, that is so that we can work on and emphasize those pathways so they can then become easier and easier, like that pruning and tuning concept that we talked about earlier. So tracking or labeling sensations, it's really not something that comes naturally to a lot of people, and it did not come naturally to me. So one thing to note is that when we're tracking sensations, we're not necessarily tracking emotions. We're not thinking, today I feel sad, today I feel mad, today I feel happy, but instead we're tracking sensations. So these are some of the words that you can think of when you're working on identifying the sensations in your body. So one of the easier ones for me to kind of understand is like temperature. So what does the room that you're in, is it cold? Does it feel hot on your skin? Do you feel neutral? So right now I know my fingers are feeling really cold just from being inside all day with the air conditioning. You might want to try to identify how your muscles might feel. So do you have calm muscles, or do they feel calm and loose, or do you feel really tight? Do you hold tension in your neck? So really trying to identify how you're feeling by using these sensation words. And one really cool study that was done based out of Finland. So this image here is, so you'll see in the yellow shows regions of increased sensation, while the blue represents decreased feeling. And these are all composite images. And what these researchers did, they asked people to identify where they felt increased sensations when they experienced a range of different emotions. So is there anything that you all can like just notice about some of these images? One thing that always sticks out to me is the feeling of happiness and how it's a full body experience. You can feel sensations from your head to your toes. Yep, Alexa says anger and pride look very similar. They do. That's a good point. I've never happiness and love are very similar. Yep, that full body sensation. What do you all notice about depression or sadness? Blue like Inside Out. Yep. I love that movie. Depression and sadness are similar. It controls your whole body. You feel less. Yep. Fear, disgust, anxiety, shame, and pride look similar. Yeah, so all the blue on the legs. So it's really that feeling of decreased sensation. So almost to the point of feeling numb. You're not feeling anything. One thing that usually at least one person will bring up is the shame. It looks like Spider-Man. But if you think about shame as well, when you might feel embarrassed, your cheeks get red. They're rushed with heat. So that's really what is being depicted in this image too. So we can take a lot from these images, but really what we want to come back to is that a sensation is a physical experience in the body, and it really originates with billions and billions of receptors in our body. And these life experiences, including our own thoughts and feelings, all have corresponding sensations within our body. And what we really want to take from this is that when we learn to discern the differences between sensations of distress and sensations of well-being, we start to have a choice of what we're paying attention to on the inside. And one really easy way to remember that is what we pay attention to grows. And we have here a picture of a plant, because if we are going to fertilize the plant, water the plant, pay attention to the plant, then it will continue to grow and flourish, and eventually you will have fruits of your labor for that. If we are instead focusing on, the weeds in the back of the yard, and we're paying attention to those weeds, then what is going to end up flourishing is the weeds and not the plant that you're trying to really get to grow. So with all of that to say is that we want to try and do an activity together. So what I would just invite you all to do, we're going to practice describing sensations that we might feel. So what we'll do is you'll get your hands and you'll start rubbing them together. You'll go slow, and then you'll start going faster, and then you stop. And in the chat, if you can just share, what sensations are you feeling? Warmth, exactly. Warm, tingly, tingles. Yep, exactly. So that's the first way that, the first time that you can practice really focusing on sensation. So you all got it. Yep. So feeling heat, tingly. As I continue to once I stop and after a while I feel the heat, and then now I'm feeling the coldness on my fingertips that I was talking about earlier now too. So yes, thank you all so much for participating. All right, so as we continue going through that, continue to think about those sensations. We're going to continue to track the sensations that we feel in our body. And with that, we'll go into the second skill, which is called resourcing. And so resourcing is any person, place, thing, memory, or part of yourself that makes you feel calm, pleasant, peaceful, strong, or resilient. And a resource, it can be real or it can also be imagined, and it can be internal to ourselves or it can be external as well. So I wanted to give you all a little look into my life and my resources. So I have here a picture of my husband. He is one of my biggest supporters and my biggest resources, and really is a where I pull a lot of my resiliency from. I also have a picture here. I was at a botanical garden in Switzerland, and just the sound of the water and just being outside and beautiful weather and experiencing like just the green around us that's a place for that I could really pull my resource in from. And then this is my son. His name is Mateo. He is 9 months old in 2 days. So he is definitely just like the light of my life. And yeah, I had to include him here. I love to show him off. I'm just a typical mom, I guess. And then also food. I come from an Italian American household. And every time that I remember spending time with my family, there's always been food involved, lots of bread and pastas. And here's a picture of like meatballs and a big salad and all of those things. So these are just some examples of what my personal resources are. And really, one of the best ways to learn how to continue to develop your own sensory vocabulary is identifying that resource to you and then noticing those sensations that you feel on the inside. So, when we're looking at this picture, what do you think might be pleasant for the people in this photo? And if you feel comfortable, just noting it in the chat. Yep. Friends and community, they're experiencing quality time, conversation, yep, sharing with friends. The food, they're talking to each other, laughter, good food, coffee, exactly, good vibes. Exactly, yep. So those are all that's just one way that we can really work on identifying that sensory vocabulary. So what's that resource and what might be pleasant as well? So maybe, the way that their cheeks feel when they're laughing together, just like having a big smile. How does that feel on their face? Or what does it feel like when you drink a hot cup of coffee when you're surrounded by friends? So really trying to identify those resources, and then also what might feel good in that moment as well. And one way that we can really get a resource to help us, especially in a moment of stress, is to ask 3 or 4 additional questions about the resource, or think more about the resource to help us expand those sensations. So one example of this, so say that your resource is being at a beach. And so if you're wanting to really sit and stay with those emotions that feel pleasant, you're thinking of your resource and you want to intensify those sensations, you might think about the smell of the salty water at the beach. You might think about how it feels when your feet touch the sand, the way the sun feels on your skin, and how the sun might warm you up. So this is a technique that you can use for yourself, but it's also something that you can use when you work with others out in the community. You can ask them more questions if they identify a resource that brings them resilience. Ask them more about that. Tell me about how that smelled. Tell me about who that person is, what's their personality like. And whenever you do that, it really can strengthen that felt sense of the resource and override attention that might automatically go to unpleasant situations. and sensation. And with all of that said, it also is important that to note that sometimes a resource can shift and it can even be associated with difficult memories or unpleasant sensations in our bodies. So this can really happen if someone has an important person in their life, say that their resource is someone who has now passed away. One of my greatest resources growing up was my grandma, and she passed away when I was in high school. So sometimes those resources can really make a shift. And so one thing that you want to do is if you're thinking of a resource and you start to find that maybe you're experiencing sensations that are not as pleasant, you want to acknowledge that shift and just invite awareness to more pleasant memories that feel comfortable or neutral to you. And if that's too hard with the resources that you might have chosen, you can always try to think of another one as well. All right, so we're gonna do a little group activity. What I would invite you all to do is just look through your phone and find a resource in your pictures. And if we can do it, I'm Sloan, are we able to have people turn their cameras on so they can maybe share the resource with the group, maybe like 2 or 3 people?
I don't think it will allow
Okay, no
video. There's
worries then.
nothing. Oh wait, hold on. Let me see. Yeah, I think that will only happen if I promote them to a panelist. I don't know.
Okay. No worries, no worries. We won't do that then, but they can unmute themselves and share if they'd
Yeah.
like, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I invite you all in the chat, or if we can maybe have like 2 or 3 people share out loud what their resource is and maybe just describe the picture in their phone.
Kyla have raised her hand. Kyla, you want to share? No, I think she's not there. Anybody else?
I have a picture of my guinea pig on my phone.
Love it. I wish I could see.
Oh, yeah,
What's your
she's so
guinea pig's
flat.
name?
Her name's Peach. She was so flat and
Peach.
cuddled up. She's like kind of
Aw.
like a peachy color, cream color.
Cool. So when you look at your guinea pig and you talk about them, what sensations are you feeling on the inside?
Happiness, calm,
Yeah.
though not always with her. She can be a bit chaotic. But yes,
Understood.
she makes me feel happy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Let's see. I think we might have Kayla or
Yes. Hi.
hi Kayla.
I also have a picture of my animals. I have a dog and then I also have a puppy. And
Aw.
my dog is a little bit older. He's around 13 and the puppy drives him crazy. So I have a lot of cute photos of them attempting to play with each other.
Love it. Perfect. And whenever you look at the picture of your dogs and just think about them, what type of sensations come up for you?
I feel happy, but I also feel like giddy and um like like laughing just because they're silly and
Yeah,
you know, time capsules.
love it. Thank you so much for sharing. I also see in the chat Yvonne says, of the puppies my dog just had, I feel happy. They make me smile and sad that they're going to their forever home in a week. Oh, yeah. And so, like, that is a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier, too, is that sometimes those resources, they have very positive, happy memories with them, but it can also lead to like some sense of sadness as well. Chief Michelle, yes, my grandson's picture makes me forget everything but we have dogs to keep us on our toes. I think my mom would say the same thing. She is so obsessed with her grandson and he's the first one. I'm an only child, so this little boy is definitely her 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 resource too. Yep, grandbabies. Thank you guys. Thanks for sharing. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Nury, and she will talk about the third skill, grounding.
Yes, I'm going to talk about grounding, and grounding is the direct contact of the body or part of the body with something that provides support in the present moment. So in grounding is the goal of grounding is straining our sense in the present moment and our current space. To do this, we are shifting our attention and how we are making contact with a supportive surface to communicate a sense of security in our nervous system. I hear the other day one of the psychologists in TikTok, I believe, that he say the grounding is the perfect way to to deal with a lot of stress. And one of the things that he mentioned is that, if you are in the park, take your shoes off, the socks off, and try to walk in the grass. And close your eyes and feel the sensation of your feet or touching the ground, and how the feeling is. Also because the ground have a lot of energy, so they take your energy, the negative energy out. Or hugging a tree, or hugging your dog, or pet your dog is gonna give you a relief of a lot of stress and anxiety in the present moment. So um, we have a we have here in the slide that say gravitational security is the foundation upon which we build our interpersonal relationship. If our relationship to the air is not safe, then all other relationships do not develop optimally. When we grounded, we have a sense of self in a relationship to present time and space. So we are not worried about the past or the future. We are focused on the same in that moment. So it's very important to do that. So here in the next slide, you can ground in many positions. A lot of people, they cannot ground. So just to sit down in your office, take your shoes off and put your feet on this and the ground and feel those sensations. It's cold, it's hot, and close your eyes and just focus on that feeling. There is different ways of grounding. Another way, and this easy way, is to stand up and put your hands through the wall and try to push the wall against you. So that is something that is gonna give you that relief of stress in the moment. So no, that's something that, sitting in the chair is one of the common positions people take and feel grounded. But like you can see here is plenty of other ways listed here. I invite you to try some of these other methods out of them and notice how your nervous system responds to that. The next slide. So if you are trying to do it yourself or helping someone else try to grounding, keep in mind that CRM is not particularly designed for processing or moving through the trauma. There is another version of CRM that is more towards mental health professional, with maybe used in conjunction with other approaches of treatment. CRM, on the other hand, is designed to not be a psychotherapeutic work with the community, because we are not counselors, we are not psychiatric, we are no mental health therapists. We are community health workers, we are promoters, we are other so many different hats, but specialists can help you more in deep about these resources. So I'm going to invite you very quick to find a comfortable position where you are and sit or lay down or standing up, whatever you want. You can close your eyes, whatever, or open your eyes, whatever you prefer, and notice how your body is making contact with the surface that you are. If it's sitting, bring attention to your seat, making contact with the sofa, the chair, Now notice your legs and then your feet making contact with the solid surface. Notice the sensation they are more pleasant to you or neutral to your body. Take your time. Notice how you are breathing, your heart rate, your muscle relaxation. If you become aware of uncomfortable sensation, start bringing your attention to places that you feel neutral or more comfortable. Bring those thoughts, positive thoughts to your mind. As you bring your attention to neutral or comfortable sensation, notice any changes, in your breathing. Spend some moments noticing those sensations that are pleasant or neutral. As we are ready to end, slowly you can bring your body and bring your attention to those sensations. And you can open your eyes and then you can tell me, if you feel how you feel with those sensations. And you can use this with your kids, your family. You notice that maybe your children don't have a very good day at the school. You invite them to sit down in the chair or in the sofa and start talking to them and say, "How was your day at the school? Oh, mama, I was bullying or I was doing this and that." And then you can tell him, "I invite you to sit down with me, close your eyes, thinking about, you know, don't think about the school. Think about right now, what is the feeling that you are sitting, you are closing your eyes, and imagine a very good, you are in Disneyland or something else, you name it. This is an example. And then you can bring the kid back to those negative thoughts away and bring some good thoughts and then start asking him to do a deep breaths and then he can tell you more, continue the conversation how he was doing in the school. So in different ways to do that. The next one, the help now, reset now, is the skill that is intended to be easy and accessible action that you can use when you are bumped out of your resilience zone. Remember the resilience zones have ups and downs. You maybe even find that you are using a lot of these skills without even realizing. So we have here some of the resources that help you to deal with those. So read and each skill and let them practice, and each one that you see like very easy to touch something or imagine that you are here. Bring those memories to your mind. Push the wall. Even to have a cold glass of water is gonna make you feel better when you are in that situation, and that is a quick reset for you. And this is gonna calm your nervous system at the moment. So you can see here a couple, the fingers also is a good one. Press your thumbs or in the middle of your uh, finger here. This is a little bit of acupuncture that my doctor showed me. When you are in stress, you can press this for 5 seconds and then the other one. So activate your nervous system and calm down. So I'm gonna pass to Taylor now.
Yeah. And with these two, the help now skills, it just goes to show that you could really just focus on really easy to use, quick things that can really help calm our nervous system. Nothing has to be complex. It doesn't have to be complicated. You might even be doing a lot of these things. And I've noticed in the chat, a lot of you have said, like, this is something I do with my kids, my grandkids. I love being barefoot or like being grounded. And so these are probably things that you've used. The purpose is really to try to be intentional about bringing our body back into the present moment, identifying those sensations. So That's what these tools are really intended to be used for. All right. Yep. So yeah, and there's a eucalyptus
Okay.
oil with you in the card. That's a big one because you're tapping into that sense of scent. So you're using the your scent to bring you back into the present. So yep, 10 more minutes. Perfect. So we have just enough time to put it all together. And we have here the more that you plan and the more that you're intentional about these things is when you start really applying them into your day-to-day into your day-to-day living. So what we have here, we would just want to give everybody, I'll say about 5 minutes. So for me, it's 2:25. So 25 after wherever that you're at right now. If you can just create that self-care plan. So what are you doing to widen your resilient zone? If you found these skills helpful, how could you weave these skills into your own daily routine? And what of these skills would be the most helpful? What specifically do you need to do differently to embark on a better self-care plan if you think yours needs improvement? And then my favorite one is just writing a statement of encouragement to yourself, strengthening your resolve to improve your own self-care. So we'll give you all about 5 minutes to do that. And then we'll just wrap up with a few last slides. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat while you go through this. Yeah, so we can definitely share the slides. And there is more trainings available, and I have a slide about that in the next couple minutes. So I'll definitely touch on that too.
We have some resources available for you in our website, so you can, Taylor is gonna mention in a few minutes.
Yeah. I think we might start moving to the next slide, just so that we can get through those last things. But feel free to take a picture of this if you want to continue working on that self-care plan for yourself. And also this next slide is really just like practicing those CRM skills. So reading your statement of encouragement to yourself, paying attention to the sensations that are inside of your body, and really trying to pay attention to those neutral or pleasant sensations. So as you do this, new beliefs, new feelings, things might come up for you. And if anything new comes up or anything positive comes up, try and pay attention to those sensations and just to understand really what that means for you and your own journey to mental well-being. All right. So, like I talked about at the very beginning, because we only had a little over an hour today, we were only able to go through 4 of the skills. But if you're interested in going more in depth and learning about the other skills, we do have a link towards the end of the PowerPoint that you can sign up for our listserv, and we send out training announcements. We will be having multiple trainings in the month of September. So we'll go more in depth, even more than we've done today. And not only do we offer the workshops like this, but we also do provide webinars and other specialized trainings specifically on CHW requested topics. So if you liked the CREM skills and you want to continue practicing them and being more intentional about using them in your day-to-day life, you can check out the iChill app, which there is a QR code here that you can use. And with this app, it's available in English, Spanish, and also Ukrainian. So it can help bring you through the skills. There's meditations on there that you can use. And it's really, really helpful and it's free. So I'd encourage you to check this out if this is something that you feel might be helpful for you. It's also good for like those out that you work with out in the community as just a free resource for them too. And a couple other little quick plugs that we have. So just recently we launched our CHW Trauma and Resiliency Toolkit. And this is a toolkit that we developed specifically for CHWs with CHWs that are working out in the field and they're looking for resources for themselves and for the families that they work with as well. So there are a ton of different resources. If you're interested more about learning about secondary traumatic stress and burnout and how to help combat that, like what we talked about today, there's a whole section on that as well. And I can put that link for you all in the chat, which I'll do right now. And then here is that QR code to sign up for our listserv. This is where all of our training announcements will go. And I do want to also note that if you're interested in becoming trainers like Nury and I are, that we do provide scholarships for CHWs to attend the Community Resiliency Model teacher training, which is a $2,000 value, and you can get it for free. So definitely sign up for our listserv if that's something that you're interested in. The only thing that we then ask in return for the scholarship is for you to go out in your communities and facilitate the workshop and then report those numbers back to us. So, oops, I went the wrong way. I was going to just put my email in the chat. So please reach out if anyone is interested. And we have a waiting list right now that we're just taking names for. And then oh, sorry, go ahead, Nury.
Is somebody asked if they can receive a certificate of attendance today, but I am not sure if Nashville is doing that.
I am not sure either. If not, then if you want to just send me an email, I can definitely create one. I'm wondering that Nashua might be doing that already, but I'm not sure. All right, and the last thing I just want to send you off with, I know that you've all had a you know, a long day of learning and all this new information, and so With that, we just want to say that when we bring awareness to the inner wisdom of our bodies, well-being can grow. Even in times of great suffering, moments of gratitude can be seen and sensed. So thank you all for being with us and sharing space with us and engaging. And we really appreciate you all and the work that you do. And I hope you all have a good night.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Nury.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks so much.
Pleasure to be with you. Have a good day.
You as well. Thank you.
Bye.